What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be talking about the best route running video of 2025 so far. So we're going to break down everything from the stance of the wide receiver position, how you can get a faster get off the ball, all the way down to double move routes, how you can sell your double moves route better. So literally everything that has to do with route running at the wide receiver position. So let's talk about the stance. So this right here, I would say, is probably a perfect wide receiver stance, right? He's relaxed, his hands, when it's press coverage and the guy's right up in your face, your hands probably could be a little bit higher than this, up by your waist. I'm not one of those guys that's going to say your hands need to be up by your chest, like you're almost like boxing somebody, because I don't want anybody to be tense in their wide receiver stance. I want you to be nice and relaxed, like how this wide receiver is. His back foot is not too wide. You see how his heel is off the ground, and he has probably, I would say, about 60 to 70% of his body weight onto this front leg. Now, the reason why you want to stand nice and tall and relaxed like this is because when you get off the ball, essentially what you want to do is you want to roll your front shin forward. So what does that mean? So that means, like, when you get off the ball, you see how his shin rolls forward into a 45-degree angle? That actually helps you explode off the ball a little bit better. Sometimes when wide receivers come out in this stance right here and their first step is just this back foot going straight, sometimes that can actually slow them down a little bit. So to generate some power, you just slightly dip your body forward and make sure you focus on putting that shin in a 45-degree angle leaning forward. So I'm going to play at full speed and then we'll get up into the route. So again, the route really isn't anything special. He's just running a simple dig, but he does get off the ball extremely fast. So if you guys want a faster get off the ball, stand in a nice relaxed stance. Something that I tell receivers to shoot for is, like, you want to try to be like almost like 90-90, right? Or a little bit above 90 degrees like this receiver. That means like your back leg is at a 90 degree, your front leg's at a 90 degree, and then just stand up a little bit taller and then focus on rolling your shin into the get off. And that will help you get off the ball a little bit more explosion, get up into your route faster, and then ultimately help you get more separation. Now, before we get into this next clip of film, you guys, if you are a wide receiver and you would like a 2-month-long workout schedule that you can follow, go to that very first link in the description below for our elite wide receiver training package. Obviously, the season is closely approaching us. It's almost August. So if you guys are trying to hone in on your off-season training or summer training, this is one of the best programs that we have on our website for you. It's 2 months of daily gym workouts and field workouts designed for wide receivers. So we break it down like Monday, you're doing this in the gym. Monday, you're doing this on the field. And then on the field, it comes down to like route running workouts, releases, catching, all that. We give a video example of each drill, and we give you the exact sets and reps to follow. So guys, if you want to improve your wide receiver skills this summer, go to that very first link in the description below. Again, very first link in the description below for our elite wide receiver training package. Now, this next clip here is from Travis Hunter, and this is him just running routes at practice with the Jaguars, and this is probably the most important aspect of route running, and that is going to be selling vertical. So a lot of you who've watched this channel have maybe heard me talk about this before, but selling vertical is what you want to do on a 5-yard hitch, on like a 15-yard comeback, which is what Hunter's running right here, a 10-yard post, a 10-yard corner, literally any route, no matter how long it is. Our goal is to make that DB think that we are just running a simple 9 route, and there are 3 things that go into that, right? The first one is going to be your speed. Now, it's not about like, I got to run as hard as I possibly can. It's about the frequency of your speed, right? So you got to make sure. Now, again, you don't want to run slow. You don't want to be jogging. That's not going to get you any separation, especially against a faster or more talented DB. But I would say like 90 to 95% is what you should be ultimately running at. And the reason why you want to run at 90 to 95% is it's easier to change direction when you are running 90 to 95%. If you're running 100%, it's harder to change direction because you're a little bit out of control. Like, imagine running a 40-yard dash, and then once you get to 40 yards, you're trying to cut on a dime, or at 20 yards, you got to cut on a dime. It'd be tough to do, right? So you got to run it at a 90 to 95%, but the speed can't change. You can't come off the ball at 90 and then get to 75 right before you break, because that change in speed is something called an indicator to the DB, right? So I'll play this full speed. You look at Hunter's speed. Nothing changes. It's his hips that get him in and out of that break. It's the cut that gets him in and out of that break, not a change in speed. Now, the second thing that helps us sell vertical is our strides. Now, it's not about running with these like big, long strides. Obviously, Travis Hunter has longer strides because he's got longer legs and he's like obviously a taller dude. But his stride frequency, again, there's that same thing, speed frequency and also stride frequency. From the start of the route to the end of the route, our strides need to stay the exact same. Now, a lot of receivers, what they do is right before they cut, they start taking these like choppy, happy feet steps because maybe they're focused at cutting at a specific yard line. Maybe they start looking down. Maybe they're not confident in their their breaks, so they start chopping their feet. But when you chop your feet, again, that's an indicator to the DB that a break is coming. So the stride's got to be the exact same. So I'll play this again, full speed from Travis Hunter. His strides are the exact same, and he's able to cut right in the stride. That comes down to trusting your hip drop at the top of the break, which we'll talk about in a second. And then last but not least, it's going to be your body language. So your body language frequency needs to be the same from the start of the route to the end of the route. I always tell receivers, like, hey, you want to keep a low pad level. This is probably exactly what I mean by a low pad level. I tell my receivers, pretend like you have a speed sled attached to you. I'm sure you guys have all seen that, where like there's a weighted plate on a sled and you're running with the sled. And when you're running with that sled, you have a nice forward lean. That's what you want. You don't want to be too low, but you definitely don't want to be too high. And again, the frequency needs to stay the same. So let's look at Travis Hunter from the start of the route to the end of the route, right? His pad level does not change. He drops his hips. He trusts his hips at the break point. So any route where you have to drop your hips, the hip drop is what needs to slow you down. So how do we exactly do that? So when you're selling vertical, obviously it's a little bit harder to change direction than if you were to slow down, chop your strides, or a lot of receivers raise up with their chest so they have more momentum on the hip drop. But it's just you have to trust the lower body. You have to trust your hips being able to sit in the break. So right in the stride, his inside foot right here, we would call that the trigger step. And the trigger step is kind of what triggers the hip drop. And when you do that trigger step, you need to focus on being violent with your hips. Like when you drop your like center of gravity, it needs to be like somebody's throwing a punch at your head and you're trying to duck. And the magic spot I would say that you want to try to shoot for is you want to try to get your chin as close as you can to your knee. If you could drop violently, quickly on that trigger step, whether it's your outside foot or your inside foot, depending on the route, that is exactly where ultimately you're going to be able to slow down. You're going to be able to decelerate and get in and out of the break. And if you drop like that and trust that movement and sell vertical, it is very, very tough for DBs to guard you. So this is a great example here from Travis Hunter running this. Great speed, stride, body language frequency, and great hips at the top of the route to get him out fast. Now, obviously, the speed frequency, stride frequency, body language, and being able to cut on a dime doesn't just apply for routes where you got to drop your hips. It's also routes where you have to cut off of 1 foot. Now, this is going to be a cut from Justin Jefferson called a speed cut. So this is a cut that you would use on like an out route, maybe even a dig route. You know, generally, those are really the only two where you use a speed cut. But he's able to have that speed frequency going into the break and maintain the same speed out of the break with that specific cut. So we're going to kind of break down the cut and how you guys ultimately want to use this, because I know a lot of you guys use this on 5-yard outs, 10-yard outs, dig routes. It's more popular in today's, like, I guess you could say, game of football, because offenses are so much geared towards like speed nowadays. Like a lot of receivers on dig routes aren't really dropping their hips. It's more like, hey, just go get to the window fast, right? So this is a great example of this speed cut from Justin Jefferson. Look at the stride frequency, speed, and body language, and then he's still able to cut on a dime. So let's watch this. So comes off the ball, look at his body language, pulling a sled. Right? If you play at full speed, that speed does not change, right? And the speed is the same out of it. And then pay attention to his strides. His strides are the exact same. So that cut foot, when you are doing a speed cut, it's not like a hard cut. You're not trying to plant hard, or you're not trying to cut hard, I should say. You're trying to plant. And when you do this, you want to turn your foot slightly at a 45-degree angle. The goal would be to snap your hips out to this out route as quickly as possible and take the arm of the side of the break and rip it behind you. And you almost want to think like you're trying to elbow somebody who's standing behind you. So if you're running with that type of speed, you plant your foot at that 45. That allows your hips to turn. You rip that elbow. And you guys got to get in the mindset of, on a speed cut, you're not looking over your shoulder. You're looking around your shoulder. And what that does is that keeps your body language in that like forward position, or your pad level in that forward position, so you can maintain the speed and get out of the break on a sharp angle, not rounding it and rounding it up into coverage. So a speed cut is a great cut that a lot of receivers need to be able to have, because versus zone coverage like this, or off man, when the QB is throwing a timing route, like an out route, 5-yard or 10-yard, or sometimes even a dig route, you got to be able to get in and out of your breaks fast. But remember, you still have to sell vertical. So we talked about the hip drop, talked about a speed cut, and how you can sell vertical on both of those elements. Now, that's not the only cut that you could obviously use. You could get a little bit more creative at the top of the route, right? So this is maybe a little bit more advanced. These are for you guys that have heard all of that before, heard me talk about selling vertical, heard me talk about speed cuts, dropping your hips. Now at the top of the break, you could also use a move called a rocker step. And this is a great move that you could use on out routes, which is what Stefon Diggs is running right here. You could use it on outs, digs, posts, or corners. I would say anything deeper than 8 yards, where you would normally cut off of 1 foot. It could be routes where you speed cut, or it could be routes where you do like a stick cut where you plant your foot hard in the ground like a post or like a corner, right? So essentially what it is it's like a 1-2 at the top of the break. Like think about it like basketball and you're doing a crossover. That's essentially what it is at the top of the route. So you step in the direction you're going first and then you fake the opposite direction. So what we're trying to make this DB think is that we are running a post or a dig route because he's going to be running an out route. And this is as good as it gets, right? So he comes up off the ball, 1-2, gets that DB to crash, gets separation, and is able to win on this route. So again, guys, this is a move that you could use really on any route, just to fake out a DB. Because you got to have more tools in your arsenal, especially, I mean, we're looking at NFL film. Right? All of these DBs are talented, right? A lot of people, like, anytime I post NFL films, like, or NFL clips, like, people are always like, oh, that DB sucks, whatever. Like, guys, if he's in the NFL and he's starting, like, he's pretty damn good, right? So, and that, again, you might face a really talented DB in high school. You might face a guy who plays both ways in high school, who understands receiver movements. So you need a little bit more tools in your arsenal to get separation, right? So Diggs is coming off the ball here. The main thing about this rocker step is your first step has got to be a hard cut and it has to be inside your frame. You're almost thinking you're stepping down because what you want to do is you want to pretend there's like a slight platform right here that you're pushing off of into the second cut. So it has to be a quick cut. A lot of people over-exaggerate this first step. They step really, really big, so their feet are insanely wide, and when your feet are wide, you can't really push into the next cut. Think about it like a baseball pitcher, right? He's like pushing off of a mound off of this foot, like pushing off the rubber. If he's really, really wide, he's not going to get as much push, right? But he comes set into his pitching motion. His feet are close together, brings that leg up, and he pushes off of that mound with the back foot, and that back foot's under him the whole time. Think of it like that for those of you that play baseball or can kind of imagine the analogy I'm saying. So one step here, pushes off of it, fakes the second step, and you see how his hips and his shoulders are going to the inside to get this DB to crash. That is where we want to be. Because anytime we're facing a DB, what sells our cuts is our hips. It's not our head and our shoulders. A lot of people are like, oh, throw a head and shoulder fake. It's not that, right? It's a hip fake, right? So when you do that first cut, it's a short cut. It's an explosive cut. You push off. Your goal is to turn your belly button towards the post, towards the dig, whatever route you're trying to sell to get that DB to ultimately crash. So remember, guys, that's a great move that you could use on outs, digs, posts, corners. Anything deeper than 8 yards where you could cut off of 1 foot. Great example of that rocker step there from Stephon Diggs. Now, let's talk about double moves here. So this wide receiver is going to be running something called a post out. Some of you might know this as like a blaze out route, which essentially means you're taking 3 steps when you cut back to the out route. It's very, very similar to a post corner, but instead of taking it on like a 45-degree angle, you're taking it more on a flat angle. So our goal right now is we have a DB who's in zone coverage. He's outside leverage about 7 to 8 yards away. So our goal is to get him to crash on the post, right? It would be the same thing if I was running a slant and go. It'd be the same thing if I was running an out and up. All double moves, guys, no matter what the route is, like the principles of the break will always stay the same. What sells the break, what gets the DB to crash will always stay the same. So let's play this thing full speed. So this wide receiver's coming off the ball. He breaks to the post, 3 steps, gets that DB to crash, and then he's able to win. So you guys got to think of your double moves. Exactly. Remember the first route that we talked about with Travis Hunter, right? What sells vertical? Selling vertical comes down to speed frequency, stride frequency, and body language frequency. That's the same thing. Now, it's just when you cut to the post, that's when you were trying to emphasize it. Obviously, you're still trying to emphasize it as you're getting up to the initial post break, but when you cut to the post, you can't change your speed, can't change your stride, and you cannot change your body language. So when he breaks to this post, I want you to pay attention to him here. Cuts. Now, see how his eyes snap to the inside? Eyes, hips, and shoulders. That's what gets the DB to believe it's a post. When he cuts to the post, there's not really a change in speed. He's still got speed to the post. And then when he's you see how he's gaining ground with his strides. He's actually running. That is what gets the DB to crash. If you could do those 3 things on a double move, guys, you will get more separation. And because, again, we're talking about route running, right? You're going to have to run single move routes. You're going to have to get off the ball fast. You're going to have to be able to do a 1-2 at the top of the break to beat a disciplined DB. And if you want to be able to run all the routes on the route tree, you want to be the best route runner on your team, you got to be able to run double moves. You want to be the guy that they are throwing to and they're calling that double move to your side because they know you could get separation. But when it comes to a double move, it's all detail work, you guys. So let's play this thing full speed one more time. Great job getting separation on that post out, and that is how you would run a perfect double move route.